Hello and welcome to the fourth episode of the Wellbeing Designers podcast. Our guest today is Maurice Wery, who has been the very first global well-being manager of the Adecco group since February 2021, when this position was newly created. The Adecco Group is a Swiss-French company and is the world's second largest human resources provider and temporary staffing firm and a Fortune Global 500 company. They employ 34,000 people in 5,200 branches in over 60 countries and territories worldwide. Maurice joined Adecco in France as a branch manager in 2018. Then in 2020, he was already leading a well-being program for the whole group. Before Adecco, he was working in retail for Decathlon. Today, he drives the overall design, implementation, and efficacy of the Adecco Group's global approach on well-being. He is very passionate about all kinds of sports, healthy lifestyle, and nutrition. Hi, Maurice.
Hi.
Really nice to have you today on the podcast.
Hi. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Really happy spend this moment with you. I've always been passionate about the topic of well-being, coming, I would say, from a sports background. Always felt that there's been the connection between sport, health, nutrition, sleep, and its relation into the business. So I've always thought about, okay, how can we put all those things together? So I've entered the Adecco Group as a branch manager close to my hometown. In my first year, I was part of a program called Win for You, which goal was to really have well-being ambassadors. And I became one of the ambassadors from France. So my role during that year was to inspire others and my colleagues to take care of their well-being. So we went to the global event of the company. And then the person who was leading that event moved to another position. And I got that position to lead that program that I participate in. And 1 year later, the group decided to reorganize the way we do things, especially regarding to COVID. And that program moved from the Global Foundation to Global HR. So my role changed a little bit, and instead of being only, I would say, the program manager of that specific program, the group decided to make that role a global well-being role, with the idea to really use the knowledge and the experience of that program, but build a new global well-being strategy for the group. That's where I got into the role of global well-being manager for the Adecco Group.
This role was created beginning of 2021, which is connected to COVID. You mentioned that there was another program before already in the organization. What do you think? Why is this important for the Adecco group?
Well, I think well-being has always been important for the group, and the proof is that we've had that program for 10 years. So that program was created in 2010. I think at that point, the idea was that everybody was conscious that a healthy workforce is good for both the people and the business. So of course, we want people to be healthy. But I think that like a lot of organizations, when COVID hit, we also realized concretely a lot of things. Even if we knew from the data, we also already have a lot of data on well-being issues that the people are facing. But I would say that it was managed more country by country, and each country was doing its own thing. So now what's important, where the group try to really make a difference, is to create a global framework. Sometimes you have great initiatives in one country, but maybe another country doesn't even know that those initiatives exist. So as a global well-being manager role, it's crucial to make the connection and to create consistency around the group to provide really this global framework for everyone to say, okay, at least we all do those 3-4 things the same. And then, of course, we adapt locally to whatever the cultural differences, the organizational differences that you can have from a country to another.
As I understand, one main motivator was to make it global, to have in a way a standard way of doing it. And in terms of the content, how did it evolve from 2010 to 2021?
The way we started it, we decided, okay, we have the data, so from our global engagement survey that we run through the year, but we decided to go to all the countries, at least to the big regions, to really confront the data to the people. So we started by organizing workshops. So I went and I organized workshops in all our big regions to give the possibility for people to really share with us, okay, what were their really challenges around well-being, and were we able to see exactly the same feedback from data we have and the workshop discussing with the people. So we did that as first piece. Then from there, we put together a well-being committee or community, can call it different way. Then we put together a framework, a global framework. So we've built a simple framework with 5 pieces, and each piece has a specific role. So if I go into more detail, so the first piece is educate. So how do we want to help our people learn about well-being? Because what we realize is that when you tell people, oh, this is well-being, well, for people, well-being can be so different. First thing that we've learned and that was common to all the workshops, that people, they told us, okay, please don't add more things. We have already too many things. So don't come up with a new strategy where we're going to have to do more things to improve well-being. So our first pillar is educate. So we've worked in collaboration with the talent learning and development team. Then we have a structure, which is really about the way we work, the ways of working, because we realized also that this is a key element of well-being. We all know that we're not going to solve well-being issues with yoga sessions, even if yoga sessions can be really interesting. We know that it's really has to do with the way we work, the way we are organized, and the way we structure that. So we've worked on the structure pillar. Then we have the support pillar, and what can we provide to our people on a day-to-day basis to say, okay, what can we do for you in terms of individual to help you with your well-being? I think what's important to understand is that our global framework goes with 2, I would say, dimensions. There's the organizational dimension. What can we do as an organization to help our people around well-being? And an individual dimension where we are convinced that well-being is individual and we need to help people to take ownership and responsibility on their well-being. The fourth pillar is our Win for You program. So basically is how we can really help people and highlight the good thing we do around well-being and make them, I would say, actor of well-being in the organization. And the last pillar is the communication. The feedback that we got from a lot of people in our company is that communication sometimes it's too much and it's really overwhelming for them. So it's really working hand to hand with communication to really see how we can make sure that what we communicate gets to the people, but also that they know how to navigate through that flow of communication. So that's really those 5 pillars. But then the content we put in those pillars will evolve through times. Like if we think, let's say, for example, of educate, maybe we know at the moment mental health, mental well-being is really one of the main concern and main focus. So we know that through all the pillars, this is really what we want to tackle. We really want to support our people. We really want to help them with mental health, mental well-being, and the way we are organized. But maybe we don't know. Maybe in 3, 4, 5 years, it's going to be something totally different. But we will be able to use the same framework, but just adapt the content. The idea is really we share that framework with the country, and then they can adapt also because some countries are more advanced than others on the topic. And I think it's also the case for a lot of companies. We know that, for instance, Australia, the UK on topics like mental health, they are really in advance compared
Yeah.
to other countries.
Yeah, that's very cool. How do you utilize, for instance, the advancement of Australia?
The idea is really to use them to share what they do. If we see that there is a great initiative in the UK that's working, sometimes we duplicate that idea and we can even integrate that idea as a global idea for the entire group because they are in advance. So really, we want to use the countries to really inspire others and share experiences, but make sure that we don't work in silo and that we all communicate together. So this is why we have our well-being committee. The goal of that committee is to give the opportunity for people to share what works, what doesn't work, and to see what we can all do to improve the situation.
Mhm. I see. And do I understand well that you came up with this framework in 2021 or already before there was something like?
We had the final framework end of 2021. It's quite recent, but I think that so far the first challenge is really a culture challenge, and also to have people understand what are the stakes around well-being, and also to understand that we don't want well-being to be a topic on top of everything we already have. We really want to make sure that we integrate well-being in what we do. So we don't want to tell people, okay, we do a training, let's say for managers, leaders, and we had some slides on well-being. No, we want to make sure that through all the trainings, we're going to be able to integrate well-being. So that's why I think it's really crucial to focus on the way we work, on the processes, on the way we operate, on the way we manage people, to make sure that we integrate well-being there and not just had well-being on top or at the end of the cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's very cool. How is this then perceived by the other parts of the organization? How is the collaboration? You mentioned learning and development, talent.
The collaboration goes well. We all know that well-being is key. What coding brought for everyone is to really understand that, okay, this is not only an HR topic. So I think that everybody and everyone understand that, okay, well-being is everyone's matter. So I think if you work in sales, if you work in finance, if you work in IT, you know that well-being is key. So at first layer about people conscious that the topic is important, we are already there. Then now the second layer, where is the challenge, is that people, they all have their priorities to work together to integrate well-being in what they do and not say, okay, we do our thing and then, oh, okay, but we want to do also something on well-being. The good thing is that because everybody can think about their own well-being, they all know that it's important. And every manager wants their team to have a good well-being. And for us to see what do we need to provide from a well-being standpoint to stakeholders to make sure that they can have the right content to integrate in what they do. So it's also for us a question of understanding the way other works. That's where we need to collaborate to make sure that I understand the way they work, I understand what I can do for them and what I can provide, and make sure that I can provide the right content, the right framework that they can integrate in what they do.
So you also try to a bit personalize it based on the area of work.
We really need to personalize and to adapt to the context. Like a lot of things in life, it's all about the context. So if you have to work on a specific topic on well-being with an IT team in the US, it's going to be totally different than doing another project with a sales team in Japan. That's where the data that we can gather plays an important role because that's where we can see those differences.
I saw always your posts about the ambassadors. Based on this conversation, I would assume that they are the ones who are
Yes.
either the line managers or some kind of key people who then help to
Oh yeah,
embed this.
exactly. So basically, we have a specific program where every year we select 70 people who represent around 35, 40 countries of the group. Our goal is to have well-being ambassadors. So their goal is to really represent their country and be the person to really lead the topic locally, because we know that we can build all the framework we want, But at the end of the day, the solution will be to see if people are able to implement and to do concrete things on the ground. So that's where our ambassadors play a key role. So their first role, of course, is to lead by example and to show that you can be successful in our organization and taking care of your well-being. So you don't need to work 24/7. You can be a single mom with kids and you can have time to do the work that's required by your role, by your position, but take care of your well-being. So those people are there to first be the living proof and the example that we can do both. And then they are also there to really organize event and specific action concretely on the ground to engage their colleagues on taking care of their well-being. And what we do is that every year we have a common target of well-being hours that we want our people to do. And when we reach that target, we then do a global event. So we are in the middle of transforming that program. But for the past years, the big challenge was that for our ambassadors, they were getting ready to do a triathlon. So that was their first triathlon. So it was like a big life challenging experience. And we were partnering with Plan International at that moment to really then use all those hours to do something good. So we are at the moment transforming that project, but the logic is the same. It's really to have ambassadors. So the first year, that's what they do. This year, we are implementing something new that we've called Wellbeing Labs. So each group and each team of ambassadors are creating a specific project and experiment locally to test new ideas to really improve well-being. So if I give you a concrete example, this year we're going to have teams, for example, in Italy. They're going to take the data they have in Italy to see, okay, what are the challenges we have? For example, they see that the big challenge is workload. So we want them to experiment a concrete idea to see how they could improve the situation and solve the problem. So they will have 6 months to run their experiment, and then we will analyze the results. And our idea is really generate ideas all around the globe to improve well-being and to pick the best ideas and then implement those ideas in the organization. So that's a way for us to really give the opportunity for our people on the ground, in the branches, in the offices, our consultant to have a concrete impact by generating ideas that sometimes leaders won't be able to see because they are not day to day on the business. We are convinced that if we want to solve and improve well-being in the organization, it can't only be strategy coming from the top. Doesn't work. It can be a top.
Yeah, from the ivory tower, right?
Yeah, exactly. It needs to be a bottom-up approach, and we need to make sure that our people have a say and they can share with us what they know, what they experience every day to really improve the situation. That's the connection between both.
Two questions come to my mind. One is that this is really a beautiful example of the bottom-up approach, right? I assume then the leadership is open for that. Have you faced any specific challenges, how you keep the leadership team engaged?
We are in an organization where leadership did really realize that nothing will happen without our people. They are happy to see that at some point we give the opportunity to our people to really engage concretely and to have an impact.
You mentioned that it started with a triathlon. So that's, of course, connected to a mental challenge, but it's a physical challenge, right? So you started from the bottom of the corporate athlete pyramid, coming from the physical.
Exactly. Why we picked a triathlon at first, it's because triathlon and the way we are doing it, it's really going to be a great example for our ambassadors excuse me, to really work on different elements of well-being. Well, of course, the easiest one to see is the physical challenge because we take people who are really new to the sports of triathlon. So every year we have ambassadors who learn how to swim, learn how to ride a bike. So you have that first, I would say, layer of telling people you're going to overcome something crazy. It's really a big challenge. So they can also see basically that they can achieve amazing things, even if they never thought they would do it. So every year when you have someone who didn't know how to swim and is able to complete the triathlon, like, wow, That shows people that there's a lot of there's way more things that you can do that you think you can. That's the
Mhm.
first part. Of course, there's the mental piece. Mental piece because well, it's challenging mentally. You have to really overcome sometimes some fears. So you have that mental piece. You have the social well-being piece because we do that as a group. So you are able to really share your experience with others. You are really able to create connection. That might be, I think that's only one of the only global program we have where you have 70 people who are going to meet in person coming from 35 different countries. So that's always amazing for a consultant in Argentina to meet someone from Norway and someone from Japan at the same time. So that's really in terms of social well-being and the way we show our people that we are one group, we have one culture. If we relate that to the world of work, uh, triathlon, it involves a lot of organization. It involves a lot of preparation. When you are new to the sport and you need to prepare for a triathlon, you need to train for a triathlon, but at the same time, you have your role to fulfill in your organization. It's also a good example to show people that, okay, if a single mom with two kids working for the group is able to train 7 hours a week to do a triathlon, she is able to organize her planning everything. You can be able and you should be able to go for a 5 minute walk between two meetings. You should be able to maybe, I don't know, take the stairs when you go to the office.
Mhm.
Those small things
Yeah.
you can, if they are able to do that, you are able to do this. So I think that's also that connection to really inspire others and to
Mhm.
really show that that well-being is key. That basically, it comes back to really making people understand that well-being is key. So we need to make sure that people understand that they need to take care of their well-being
Mhm.
because that's key. And you only have, I would say, one body, one head. You know that you need to really take care of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's really our purpose.
Can you say some examples how you measure the results of the well-being intervention and maybe how do you connect it then to other initiatives?
So we have our global engagement survey, and
Mhm.
within that survey, we have a specific question related to well-being. So we have that engagement survey 3 times a year, and it gives us a lot of data on how people feel, if they also feel that they have the ability and the capacity to take care of their well-being. But it allows us to really understand, okay, are we doing the right thing for people to take care of their physical well-being, mental well-being? We have the typical KPIs that we can have in organization around turnover, retention, and when people are leaving, why they are leaving, are people engaged? It's not easy to measure because there is an element, I would say, of perception. So I think that we need to find the right balance between the KPI we can have and also the different workshops, the discussion, and the day-to-day feedback we can have directly from the ground and from our people in the country.
We are getting close to the end
Mm.
of the podcast. In many organizations, this position is just maybe coming up in the future. Head of Wellbeing, Global Wellbeing Manager. What would be your advice for these future well-being leaders?
The first thing, well, is to make sure you can understand really what's happening in your organization. Take the time to go and meet the people, to confront the data you have with the experience you may have, because depending on your background, you may not know how, I don't know, if you work, let's say for a retail company, if you've never been to a store, you can't know exactly how it works. So you need to understand really the experience of the people in your organization. So I think that's the first thing. Second thing, which I think is for me the most important thing at the moment in the well-being space, is to focus on the priorities. I think a lot of companies, they are just doing wellness. Okay, we launch a new app, we ask people to go for a run, and we do well-being. That can be good. That's something that's a good and a nice to have. But we know that the core element and the key focus on well-being needs to be about the way we work. We know that people they spend too many times in calls, in meetings, with emails. those are the things that as an organization we need to solve. Because like I said before, we're not going to solve well-being with cooking classes. It's nice to have, and that can be fun, but the core element of well-being is the way you are managed, the way you are evaluated in your organization, and the way you work. So that's really where I think if people take this new role, where they should focus their mission to really improve the way their organization operates as an organization, to really improve all those processes and basically to give time back to people. So they feel comfortable that if at some time you need to pick up your kids from school, okay, you can leave earlier if your job is done. At the moment, I see a lot of initiatives everywhere on well-being, which are more communication around, okay, we organize a nice marathon at the end of the year. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. But if your people don't even have time to get those initiatives, so it's even more frustrating for them. So the first thing you need to focus is, okay, are your people having the right tools to work? Are they spending their time doing what they're supposed to do? And they are asking companies, please give us more time to do our job. So that's, I
Yeah.
think, really where the well-being focus as a global well-being manager should be. And last element is really to connect with all the stakeholders. You're not going to be able to solve well-being on your own and only within your, whether it's HR or depending department you are. It's collaboration. So you need to be able to work with all the different elements of your company. So make sure that you work with them so that they can really integrate well-being in what they do and that you don't just have well-being on top of what they are already doing.
You mentioned the ways of working, and what comes to my mind, the way how we talk to each other, right? We can
Yeah.
hopefully these influence that as well, but we really have to then connect it back why
Now
we
that
are doing this.
as a manager, do you now that it's a lot of virtual thing, do you really take the time to ask your people how they are doing?
Mm.
Or are you just doing a call to catch up and see if they've done the work? And that's two total different things. And before, I would say it was easier because you will have that coffee machine break where you can ask people, okay, how was your weekend?
What is your way of well-being? How do you take care of your own well-being?
Now that I've done my first triathlon in 2019 with the group as part of the big project, I kept the base. I'm still doing triathlons. So I'm training a lot, I would say, because that's my way. When I go for a run, that's where I recharge the battery, but also take time with people. I take time with my loved ones, with the family, with friends. And I think that I've also learned how to say no. So I think that at some point, when I receive invites for calls for meetings, if I think that I'm not going to bring any value to the meeting and that I don't need to be there, I'm not joining meetings. And I
Mm.
putting also blockers in my calendar to make sure that I have time to work and deliver what I need to deliver.
So thank you that you said yes to this podcast, and we went through the filter, and yeah, it was great to get to know the way how you approach well-being personally and how Adecco Group does it. Looking forward to following this journey.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the great initiatives. I also think that we need initiatives like yours because when you start in that kind of role, it's also really valuable to hear experiences of others because we are now, I would say, a new community of well-being leaders, well-being managers, but we don't necessarily know what's happening out there. So yeah, it's really great to have your podcast. So thanks a lot.
I hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Wellbeing Designers podcast. Let's design the future of well-being together. To join the movement of the Wellbeing Designers, reach out to me via LinkedIn or email hello@rekadeak.com. REKADEAK. I am keen to hear about your stories, your ideas, and your feedback. Together, we can design a future of well-being and make workplaces fit for humans.